Now, it remains to study the last and most important part of this module, the efficiency properties of equilibrium. Our intuition that in a pure competition economy, equilibrium implies some form of an efficient allocation of resources was present also in the ancient economists. You remember the metaphor by Adam Smith, the invisible hand. Every subject, by pursuing his personal, egoistic interest, pursues unintentionally also the interest of the whole community, of the whole society. In this metaphor, it is not very clear what the interest of society means. What is the meaning of this expression? It's not very precise in the original statement by Smith and other economists. Usually, these authors refer to the mechanism of the intersectoral movement of capitals. Suppose that in some productive sector there is an higher level of profits, then other firms will enter in this market in order to obtain analogous profits. But by doing this, the total supply of the good increases, the equilibrium price decreases, and therefore they in reality benefit the consumer. The final purchases of a good unintentionally, because of the intention of each of these firms which are entering the market and to obtain higher profits, while the diminution of prices reduces profits. And this is an unintentional consequence of the actions of these firms. But a more rigorous approach, as I told you in the introduction, was that by Pareto, which introduced what today is known as Pareto optimism. Situation in which it is not possible by the suitable redistribution of resources to ameliorate the condition of every subject. The theorem is this: the equilibrium allocation is a Pareto optimum. Pareto proved this theorem by a strong use of differential calculus. In reality, as we shall see, in order to prove of this result, it's sufficient to use the well-known Samuelson's inequalities. It's a really fundamental result, the so-called first theorem of welfare economics, which we shall obtain. And it is proved by elementary mathematics. As I told you in the introduction, it's interesting to remember that Pareto firstly introduced the concept of an optimum when dealing with the socialist economy, not a capitalistic one. In the end, if there will be some time, I make an attempt to illustrate the problem according to the original version by Pareto. However, today, the concept of Pareto optimum is mainly applied to a decentralized economy, not to a socialist economy in which all the means of production are owned by the state. Let us see step by step all the fundamental concepts in this context. And the first concept to introduce is that of Pareto dominance. Pareto dominance is substantially a binary relation as the preference relation of the households, which orders the different allocations of goods, partially orders the different allocations of goods. You remember the concept of an allocation is a vector of vectors, x1, x2, xh. Each of them tells what quantities of goods are given to the first, to the second, etc., to the eighth consumer. In order to be possible, clearly, this total consumption must be producible, as I told you some lessons ago. However, in this way, we obtain a set of possible allocation. Exactly in this set that relations of Pareto dominance are defined. We shall consider two different Pareto dominances, strong and weak Pareto dominance. Let us begin with strong, or strict Pareto dominance. For the sake of simplicity, let us denote an allocation by this large vector. Remember that each of these x1 are vectors as well, n-dimensional vectors. So x without indexes is an element of this enormous dimensional Euclidean space m times large h dimensions. Well, we shall denote strong Pareto dominance by the letter P, which is a usual symbol for preference, strict preference. We shall say that an allocation Y strongly dominates an allocation X if and only if for every consumer, for every H, which ranges from 1 to large H, the bundle YH is preferred to the bundle XH. This is the usual definition of Pareto dominance. In other terms, an allocation Y is dominant with another allocation X if with the first allocation every subject is better than with the second allocation. We obtain preferred result from the first with respect to the second allocation. Is it clear? In the case of a pure exchange economy, if you have this initial allocation, trace the indifference rules of the first and of the second consumer. The set P of X, the set of the allocation, which strongly dominates X, is the shaded one. boundaries excluded, because of the boundaries, we are on indifference curve, so if you are, for example, this point, subject 2 is different, and this reference judgment is not verified. However, the usual graphic representation of strong Pareto dominance is this. The relation P inherits many interesting properties from the individual preference relation pH. It is clear that since every preference relation is irreflexive, it is a strong preference relation, then also the strong Pareto dominance P is reflexive. Moreover, if every preference relation pH is transitive, also P is transitive. So these are elementary results. Moreover, if every preference relation is continuous or open, then also this strong Pareto dominance is an open, continuous preference relation. And if A is a convex set, is not generally guaranteed, then if every individual preference relation is convex, also P will be convex, and so on, and so on, and so on. Many properties of individual preference relation are inherited, so to speak, by the strong Pareto dominance. This is the first concept. But for many applications, for example, in muscular, this concept of dominance is not used. There is another concept of dominance, weak Pareto dominance. Now, let us define also this second relation. Weak Pareto dominance. This second relation will be denoted by R. In order to define this second relation of dominance, we must suppose that the strict preference relation of our individuals are deduced from a weak preference relation, which is denoted in this way, L with H, LH, which can be interpreted preferred or indifferent to. We shall write YH XH belongs to RH if and only if, according to individual preferences, YH is preferred or indifferent to XH. This is nothing but the corresponding symbol of this usual one in muscular and dialects. It's the same thing. Remember from Pacini that the strong preference, individual preference relation pH can be deduced from the weak one, preference indifferent to, in this way. YH is strongly preferred to XH if and only if YH is weakly prefer to XH, but the convex judgment is not verified. In other terms, our subject H prefers YH to XH, weakly preferred, YH is preferably indifferent to XH, but not XH weakly preferred to YH. And therefore, we obtain strict preference. RH is supposed reflexive, while pH is, as a consequence, irreflexive, as usual. In the standard context, the individual relation RH is supposed not only reflexive, but also transitive and complete. A pre-order, quasi-order. In this case, the strong preference relation is named regular, or these are only definitions. It is clear, this is the way in which the individual strong preference relation pH is deduced from the weaker one, the weak one. And now, let us define the relation R without indexes. We shall say that the allocation Y is weakly dominant with respect to allocation X if and only if sorry, yes, there is a mistake. Yeah, this is forever, not very easy. Sorry. If forever H from 1 to light H, Y H is weakly preferred or preferably different to XH, and now there exists a K such that YK is strictly preferred to XK by the kth household. In other terms, to have weak Pareto dominance, every consumer must be with Y in a bundle which is preferred or indifferent to the bundle you obtain under X, and at least one household is in a better state. It is possible to ameliorate the condition of one subject without worsening the condition of any other subject. Is it clear? I repeat, strong Pareto dominance. The allocation Y is strongly dominates in allocation X if forever, for every individual, the bundle YH is preferred to the bundle XH. On the other side, we shall say that in allocation Y weakly dominates in allocation X if for every subject YH is preferred or indifferent to XH, and there exists at least one consumer, K, say, such that YK is strictly preferred to XK. Is it clear? This is the second relation of Pareto dominance. By definition, this can be verified as an exercise, the relation P is a subset of a relation R. In other terms, if an allocation Y strongly dominates an allocation X, obviously it also weakly dominates that allocation. because the case in which all these preference judgments are verified is nothing but a particular case of this second definition. So, generally speaking, this inclusion will hold. The converse is not generally verified, is usually not verified, for example, if preferences are continuous. And therefore, we really need to state this result. Well, let us have another break.